Today we're going to talk about what's in the news. You've all heard this last week that Theresa May, our Home Minister, Minister for Home Affairs, wants to look at Sharia law. And she believes that perhaps Sharia law may not have or may not equate with British law. Now, why is she even talking about that, Hatun?
Because now we've got London of Maya is Muslim.
Okay, the mayor of London is a Muslim.
Yeah, and then he made some comments regarding the Sharia law.
He made this comment here just earlier this month.
In 10th of May in Sunday Times, he said there are some uncontroversial areas of the Sharia Islamic law which could easily be applied to the legal system in the UK.
Okay, there are some uncontroversial areas of Islamic law which could easily be applied to the legal system in the UK. How many people agree with him? How many people agree with our mayor, Sadiq Khan, that Sharia law can also not only live under British law, but can be used alongside British law? See, I don't think people know what Sharia law is. I don't think people realize exactly what it means. And what we want to do today, we're going to look at Sharia law. We're going to unpack some of those areas. We're going to look and see what the Hanafi manual, what the Maliki manual, what the Shafi'i manual, and the Hanbali manual. We're going to look at also what the Qur'an says. And then we're going to look at Islamic tradition. So we're going to three sources. We're going to the four schools of law themselves: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali. We're going to go to the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad himself to see how he applied these laws in his life. And we're going to look at the Quran. And then we're going to ask you people whether or not these laws that Sadiq Khan says can be applied to the legal system here in UK, whether you agree with that statement or not. So let's start out. What's the first area we're going to look at?
Okay, first we are going to look at the violence.
The violence.
Violence in the marriage.
In marriage. Now remember, there are now about 80 to 85 Islamic courts in Britain. They are legal courts. They have been made legal since 2009. So they've been around for about 7 years. 80 to 85 legal courts. We're going to look at their jurisdiction, and I want you to listen and ask whether or not they are equal with UK law or British law. Go ahead.
Okay, let's start with the Quran. According to Surah 4, verse 34, okay? As to those women on who is part of fear, disloyalty, and ill conduct, admonish them first.
So if there are women that stand against you, the husband can admonish them first, number one.
Second, refuse to share their beds.
That means throw them from the bed if they still are against you.
Yeah, and beat them.
And then thirdly, beat them. Now the word in Arabic is daraba.
Yeah.
And daraba means to scourge. It's where we get the word drubbing in English from.
No.
Oh, now he wants to dispute. So what does daraba mean in Arabic?
There's many definitions.
It means what?
Many definitions.
There are many definitions.
There are many definitions. He would like to say lightly. Is there any word lightly in the Arabic?
No.
How do you beat a wife lightly?
You can't.
You can't really beat a wife. If you're going to beat her, you beat her, right?
Yeah, pull up.
Do you think this should be in British law? Should we allow our husbands to beat their wives?
We are not talking about the translations. We are talking about Quran itself. We are talking about the Quran itself. Arabic words.
This is what the Quran says. You can see they're having problems already.
If you don't know
Arab, I'm not even Arab. I should know that.
Don't say anything.
It doesn't say about any witness here. It says if the wife disobeys you, admonish her first, throw her from the bed, and then beat her, daraba, scourge her like you do an animal.
You don't know my wife.
You want to beat your wife? Then you better go back to Sharia law. But in British law, we do not allow men to beat their wives.
Prophet beat his wife?
Does anybody?
Yes,
Yes,
he
he
did.
did. Look what he did to Aisha. Look what he did to Aisha when she disobeyed him.
Yeah, when Aisha noticed Muhammad went out midnight, when Muhammad came in, Muhammad struck her in her chest. It caused her pain, sir. Go and read your hadith. It's in
That's
the
from
hadith.
Al-Bukhari. You
It's
can
in
get
the
that from
hadith.
the traditions.
Yeah.
You can.
go and check it. It's very easy. It's very
You
easy
mean
to
you
find
haven't
it.
read Al-Bukhari?
Go ahead. There's Bukhari, there's Muslims. But I'm asking you.
See,
where
now the Muslims
verse-
are now questioning
where
their
the
own
chapter?
prophet.
I'm asking for your proof.
We'll get it. We don't have it with us
Well, then
today.
you can't make a claim if there's no proof.
So,
Back, well, you go over, go talk to her. She'll give it to you right now. Find out where the prophet beat Aisha. But let's get back. Should we allow men to beat their wives?
no, that's not acceptable.
Now let
Jay.
me ask you. There are special buildings. There are special, in fact, homes for women that are abused here in Britain.
Yeah, safe houses.
According to the latest statistics,
Yeah.
how many Muslim women or how many women from Muslim backgrounds make up these beaten wives or these
Lots of.
these are special, what are they called?
Safe houses.
Safe house of refuge for abused women.
Yeah.
60 to 90% of those in these abuse houses are Muslim women. Can you now understand, though they make up only 2% of the population here, 60 to 90%, depending on which house, are made up of Muslim women?
So I guess it will be right to say their husbands are just being faithful to the scripture, what Quran says so and what Muhammad
If the
practiced.
Quran gives them a right to beat
beat?
them,
Yeah.
you can see why they're beating them.
Yeah.
But that's only after three things: admonish, throw them from the grid,
Yeah.
or beat them.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
what
and
does
beat them.
Christianity say about our wives? Ephesians chapter 5, verse
Women cannot
25.
divorce.
What does Ephesians 5:25 say about a husband and his wife?
Let's read it.
They can divorce.
Women cannot divorce.
That is
Is that right? No.
Well, he's looking it up. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, it says a husband must love his wife like Christ loved the church.
That's fine.
And as Christ was willing to die for the church,
But what if she's
so a
not-
husband should be willing to die for his wife.
What if she's
Now,
not happy in her
Hatun,
marriage?
tell me, is that much more loving?
It's much more loving.
And is that now how all husbands should treat their
Yes,
wives?
every Christian husband should treat their wife like that.
So we
The way
should not be
Christ-
beating our wives.
No, that's not acceptable in Christian
Christ
scripture.
does not allow that, does
No,
he?
Bible doesn't give us that right.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4 and 5, it says that the woman's body is equal to a man's body, and that a man's body is equal to a woman's body.
Yeah.
That a man does not have a right over his wife's body. So there you see another reference
Yeah.
in 1 Corinthians chapter
Yeah.
7.
So Bible clearly tells us you don't have any right to beat your wife.
In fact,
No.
she is equal to the man.
Yes.
And her body is equal to a man's body.
Yeah.
Both are equal before God.
Yes.
In Galatians chapter 3, verse 28, it says there is no difference between man or woman, Jew or Greek, slave or free. All are equal in Jesus Christ.
Yes, that's correct.
So what does that mean to you, Hatun?
It tells me I am very privileged to follow Jesus because Jesus doesn't give any right to my husband that they can beat me. Bible tells me my husband must love me as much as Christ loved the church. My Bible tells me body of woman and body of man are equal there for one another. Bible doesn't give me any right as Quran gives right to the Muslims that they can beat their wife.
Okay, now let's go on to Al-Bukhari. Now this is the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
So these are the things that Muhammad said.
Yes.
Al-Bukhari, volume 7, hadith number 132. The Prophet said, so this is Muhammad saying,
Yeah.
none of you should flog his wife as he flogs a slave and then have sexual intercourse with her in the last part of the day. What does that mean? Unpack that mean.
So, according to Muhammad, you cannot beat your wife as much as you beat the slave.
But you can beat
Because-
your wife, but not as much as a slave.
Yes, you can beat your wife, but you cannot beat your wife as much as you beat your slave.
And why not?
Because you are going to have sex with your wife and you want to be satisfied from that sex.
So
Sorry
hold
for
on,
the language.
folks. How does this make you feel, women, when you hear this? See, this is not me speaking.
Sir, Jay, hold on a minute. I just saved the reference.
We now have the reference
Sir?
where Muhammad beat Aisha.
Okay?
We can do this for the camera since he's not listening anymore.
According to Sahih Muslim, book 4, number 2127, Muhammad.
Are you listening?
Muhammad beat
Sahih
Aisha.
Muslim, book 4, number 2127 is the reference you were asking for.
Okay, Muhammad.
I didn't hear.
According to Sahih Muslim, book 4, number 2127, Muhammad beat Aisha on her chest that it caused her pain, sir. Let me encourage you to go and read
And the
this.
reason he beat her, because she was following him at night time.
She was following to
That
find
was her
out
crime.
what is her husband is doing.
So here you have your own prophet doing that. We're looking at UK law and comparing the two.
When you look at the Bible, Timothy 2:12.
Okay, hold on a minute.
What does Timothy 2:12 say?
A man has authority over his wife, and she may not teach him in the Bible.
Where does it say
Okay.
beat her?
Don't say beat her.
No,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
looking for beating now.
She's not equal.
Wait a minute. What does it say in 1 Corinthians 7 then? You've got the two beside each other. What does it say in Galatians 3:28?
What? So,
So, hold on.
You need to look at it in context of all the verses.
No, we are comparing what does Islam tell to husband they can do to their wife. So from the Quran tells us husband can beat the wife.
You should
So-
be silent according to your book.
Are you Christian, sir? Welcome to the
church,
England.
in church.
Welcome to the England. This is not church. Are you Christian, sir? Are you Christian? Are you Christian?
Let's just talk about this very quickly. In Corinthians and in
Yeah.
1 Timothy,
Yes.
Paul does say that.
Yes.
Because that is a problem in the Corinthian church, is
Yes.
it not?
Yes.
But what does Paul do in the Roman church? In the
Paul-
church in Rome?
When Paul writes to the letter to church in Romans, end of the letter, Paul addresses women as church leaders.
And who is it? Priscilla is even addressed before Aquila,
Yeah,
her
before
husband.
her husband.
Whenever
So-
you address the person first, who has authority in that relationship?
In that context, it is the woman who
It
has
is
got
always
the authority.
always the first person
Yeah.
you mention.
Yeah.
So Priscilla is made head of the church in Rome,
Yes.
but not in Corinth.
Yes.
So there must be a particular problem in
Yes.
Corinth that he's referring
Yeah,
to.
and when we look at what happening,
Sorry,
what
can I
was,
take that
hold on a
reference?
minute,
You might.
hold on a minute,
I
sir.
won't take that reference.
Sir, hold on a minute, wait, and
Sahih
you will come.
Muslim, Book 4,
21,
Hadith
27.
21:27.
That's fine.
Now let's move on. Let's look at another one. This is Sunan Abu Dawud, Hadith number 21:26. A man from the Ansar called Basra said, I married a virgin woman in her veil. When I entered upon her, I found her pregnant. I mentioned this to the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad said, she will get the dower, for you made her vagina lawful for you. The child will be your slave. When she has begotten a child, flog her, beat her, according to the version of Al-Hasan.
So again, we are talking about the Prophet of Allah who tells a man, as soon as she gives birth to the child, please do flog her.
Flog her. So there's another
Yeah.
case where the Prophet said to beat a woman.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to probably one of the most contentious areas, and this is what we call marital rape.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Before we pass to that, also we read in the Sunnah Dawud, it talks about woman doesn't have right to ask their husband why I got beaten. So your husband, my husband beats me, and I don't have right to ask my husband, why did you beat me?
So the husband doesn't have to have any reason.
No.
He can just beat her if she burned the food.
Yeah.
If she displeased him.
Yeah.
For any reason, he can beat her. He doesn't have to give an excuse.
Yes, he doesn't have to give an excuse.
Now, folks, do you want that in UK law? Should we bring that to Britain? Yet this is what Sadiq Khan says. It is perfectly legitimate that we bring Islamic law, Shariah law, because it necessitates much of what British law necessitates.
Jay, can you tell us, if today in Britain, 2016, if my husband beats me, what will happen to him?
Well, let's ask the lawyer right here.
Well, you get arrested.
You get arrested.
Okay, my husband will
So
get
you're a
arrested.
barrister in law, right? Yep. So if a man beats his wife in Britain, what happens to that man?
Well, she should go to prison, get arrested, he'll get prosecuted.
He gets prosecuted. And that's UK law. And that's why we're putting and looking at UK law versus Shariah law. We're looking at these two.
So when we look at the violence in marriage, according to Quran, Allah tells husband to beat their wife, and then Muhammad practiced that, and it is in the Hadith. But if that is practiced in England today, if my husband practiced that to me, he will be persecuted. He will
Prosecuted.
Prosecuted. Yes.
Big difference between prosecuted and persecuted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry
now,
for
Mark,
the pronunciation.
This has taken years for us to get to this law, has it not? Yeah. In fact, you're saying that this law only came into being in the late 1900s.
Yeah, 1997.
1997, so just before the millennium.
Yeah.
And why do you think now we have this law in place? Who and where does this law is found? Where do you think it goes beyond British law? Would you not suggest that this is biblical law?
God treated man and women equal, so a woman has a right to say no, even if it's to her husband.
Exactly. And so we see this in the gospel of Jesus Christ, do we not?
Yep.
So in some ways, British law has finally caught up to biblical law. So I would suggest, people, that if you want to see where we get many of our morals from here in Britain, I would suggest you go back to the Bible. Because you're going to find 1 Corinthians chapter 7, a very good place. It's all about marriage, is it not? The entire chapter is about marriage. And it shows the rights of a husband and the rights of a woman.
Can I hear the call?
Both have equal rights. Now the law has finally caught up, because this didn't used to be British law. But now Islamic law wants to take us back to the 7th century, where the woman has no rights for divorce. We're going to see divorce as we come on. But now we're going to move on to marital rape. This is a hard one, Hatun.
Okay. It is this one is like not only disturbing, it's also disgusting.
Okay, this is in the Quran itself.
Yeah.
And what's the reference?
I'm going back to the Quran, Surah Baqarah, verse 223.
So Surah 2, verse 223.
Your wives are tilt for you. So you go to your tilt when or how you want, you will.
So your wife or your tilt. Now, Hatun, most people don't know what tilt means. What does that mean in English?
It's a field.
It's what you do to a field. You tile your ground. You tilt your ground. You dig up your ground. You go into the ground of a field. So your wife or someone you can go into.
Yes.
Whenever and however you want.
Yes, that's disgusting, Jay.
So it means that any time you can go into your wife sexually.
Yes.
Is what it's saying.
Yeah. So it...
Now, you say that's disgusting. Why do you say that?
It is disgusting because you are saying, Quran is saying, husband has a right to have sex with his wife, even though woman doesn't want it. It's according to Surah Baqarah.
Surah 2, ayah 223. We've just read it. Did you all hear it? Why'd you help this man here? He doesn't want to agree with his own Quran.
He doesn't want to agree with that because he is where it is disgusting. It is disgusting.
Okay, now let's go to the Hanafi manual.
Okay.
The Hanafi manual is called Al-Hadayah. This is the Hanafi school of law. So let's go to Islamic law itself. Let's see what Islamic law says.
Okay.
From the Hanafi manual, volume number one.
Where a woman residing in the house of her husband refuses to admit him to conjugal embrace.
That means make love with her.
Yeah. Notwithstanding her opposition, because being then in his power, he may, if he pleases, enjoy her by force.
So what this says is, if a man wants to have his wife sexually and she refuses him, he may force it upon her.
Yeah.
His power he may, if he please, to enjoy her by force.
Yes. So
that is rape. I would call that rape.
In 2016, I will call that rape too.
In fact, we
and
have
that's
a law
ugly.
against that, don't we? Mark, there is a law in Britain against that. And what is the law now?
Well, it's rape. It doesn't matter if it's your wife. If she says no.
No is no.
No means no. And when was that law made into law?
Yeah, well, 1996.
1996. So it's only been around for about 20 years.
Yeah.
It's only been around for 20 years. And yet we know that 1 Corinthians 7 is very much this very thing. A man's body is equal to a woman's body. And a man may not prey upon a woman, may not take her by advantage without her consent. So they've come back to the Bible again. It took them to 1997 for UK law to come back to the biblical precept. But yet Islamic law wants to take us back to the 7th century again. Folks, do you see why we're bringing this up at Speaker's Corner? This is the law that Muslims want now to bring to Britain. This is what Sadiq Khan wants to make as our national law, because he says it's perfectly benign.
Yeah, let me read it from the Hadith. Al-Tirmidhi, what he says in 3257. Allah's messenger said, when a man calls his wife to satisfy his desire, she must go to him even if she is occupied at the oven. So it doesn't matter what woman is doing. If woman has to cook food, when husband calls the woman to go to bed and have sex with him, she has to go.
So she has no right over her own body. No, it doesn't matter what she's doing. The man can demand she have sex at any time.
Yes.
Is what it's saying right here.
Yeah.
And this is ultimately the Hadith.
Do you know how to read Arabic?
3257.
Yeah.
Do you know how to read Arabic?
Does it important?
Yeah, because the surah doesn't say that.
It's not a surah.
I ask you.
We are reading the Hadith,
with the Quran. This has nothing to do with the Quran. We're reading from
bring the reference from the surah first.
Can you see now why he has to say that?
From the surah.
He's already scared of his own Quran.
I'm asking you. When the man need to sleep with his wife, he have the right to sleep with his wife or not?
Yes, he does not have the right to sleep with his wife.
The
woman has control over her own body.
Yes.
Are we agreed on that?
Yes.
I give you
But not according to the Quran.
According to Quran, woman doesn't have any right.
The woman have to submit to over her man because the
Sexually?
submit to over man.
Where does it say
have
that?
authority over the
Nowhere
woman.
does it say that in the
Sir,
Bible.
Have authority.
Thank God I got
Authority
Jesus.
over the woman.
Sir, do not
God.
try to
have
speak
Jesus
to
says
them.
clearly that a woman's body is
if you
equal
want
to
to
a
do
man's
whatever
body,
you want,
and
you
a
will
man's
do.
body is equal to a woman's body.
You have authority
And
over
a
the
man
woman.
must
So
love
don't
his
lie.
wife like Jesus Christ
You
loved
have
the church.
authority over the woman.
Thank God we
You
have Jesus to
authority.
correct us.
Thanks God for
Do whatever you
Jesus.
want.
Okay, here we
Let-
go. Let's go to the next one.
Let me read it from Sahih Bukhari.
No, read it
And then,
from the Quran.
Hatu, can you see what he's saying?
I can
He
see.
believes that because a man has authority, he can impose himself on his
That's your
wife.
book.
It
This
is,
is
Authority over the
Islamic
wife.
thinking right here.
Authority.
And you can see how a Muslim
Authority.
automatically thinks that if a man has authority, he may rape his wife anytime.
That your book say.
Only a
That
woman has that conclusion.
That your book say.
that is what
And now you
Quran
can
says,
see
sir.
why. Because it's in their own text.
Authority over the wife. No, that's not the Quran. That's your
That's the Quran according to Surah
Authority over the
2,
wife,
verse
that's your book.
Does authority mean he
223.
can rape her?
I don't
No,
know. You
no,
have to give it to
no,
me.
no, sir.
What's the mean authority? Man
There
have
is no
authority.
one
To
in
rape
the...
his wife.
You tell
To
me.
rape his wife.
You tell me. What
But
does that
see,
mean?
the Quran allows him to.
Can you tell me what
Where
does that
in the
mean?
Bible do we have a verse like that?
Listen.
They don't have any verse in the
In the
Bible.
Bible, you
Thank
have
God
the
for
man
Jesus
have
Christ.
authority
Shame on you
over the
that you are
woman.
imposing
Can you
your
tell me
Let's go.
interpretation
What
on
do
my
we also
scripture.
read? In Sahih
We wanna
Bukhari.
know.
Okay, let me read
Hadith.
it.
In the
Number
Bible,
4.
we want to know in the Bible.
Hadith number,
The man have
volume
authority.
4,
What does that
Hadith
mean?
number 460.
The
Okay.
man have
All his
authority over
apostles
the
said,
woman.
if a
wanna
husband
know.
calls his wife to his bed to have sexual relation and she refuses and causes him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse her till morning.
Okay, so what is the job of angels, Jay? Throughout the Quran, we see job of angels is bringing the will of Allah to mankind. They are telling us
So the
power of
angel's
Allah.
responsibility
is-
is to tell mankind what God's will is.
Yes, and in here, those powerful angels steps in when woman refuses to sleep with her husband, and angels
Quran
is
says the man
going
have authority
to
over his
curse
wife?
the woman until
Is the
in the
Quran
morning
saying that?
because
I
she
wanna
is
know.
refused to sleep with her
Authority.
husband.
Okay, we've already read Surah 2,
Whatever I
Ayah
want to do, I
230,
want to do.
where a man has authority over his wife to go
the
into
Bible.
her
That's the
anytime
Bible
and any
says that.
place.
Yeah.
Now we read the
Bible
hadith
says
that say that if
authority.
she refuses,
Why
the
don't
angels
we
will
not
curse
just
her
read the Bible?
Yes.
all night
We
long.
want to know
Yes.
the Bible.
What else does it say? Let's look at Now let's go to Al-Masabi.
Okay.
The Al-Masabi, Mishkat Al-Masabi, is a compilation of the 6 most authoritative hadith. What does it say about this?
Okay. The Prophet said that no woman allowed her husband in this world without his husband among the large eyes main saying, you must not anoint him. Allah curse you. He is only a passing guest with you and is about to leave you but to come to us.
We don't understand.
So here we have it.
Can you read it again?
Here we have, that's because you were yelling while we were reading.
Let's read it again.
They all understand what we're saying here. So here you give again the Al-Masabi. Mishkat Al-Masabi saying that a man can go into her anytime. She has no right that she must be ready for her husband.
Authority?
Yes.
That the Quran say authority?
Surah 2,
Authority?
Ayah 230.
No, no.
Surah 4, Ayah 34.
223.
For us, what does that mean?
Where the woman must
Can
come
you
under
tell us what
subjugation
is
of the
that
man.
authority?
But let's move on. We've already
What does
read
it mean,
that.
authority?
He wasn't here when we read
Authority, what
that.
does that mean, authority?
Okay.
No, no, I was smoking behind, don't worry. I was here.
Go on to the next one.
Let's talk about what happens.
I want to, before I want to do that, I want to read what the
I
leading
want to know.
Sharia council.
African, I don't understand English. Can you
Can
explain
you
it
move to
to
the
me?
side, please?
Man, don't move me, please. Yeah?
I want to know what Sheikh Maulana Abu Saeed, who runs the largest network of Sharia courts in Britain.
Okay.
So this is today, in 2010.
Okay.
Let's see what the Sheikh said. Maulana Abu Saeed. He runs the majority of
wanna
Islamic
know
courts
what
here in
the
Britain.
Okay,
So let's see
hear
how
what
he
he says.
applies.
Can you explain
This
it
is
to
what
us,
he claims. Husbands who rape their wives should not be prosecuted because sex is part of marriage.
That
That was said in
ugly.
2010 by the head of the Sharia courts
Who
here
says
in
that?
Britain.
Who says that?
When asked if he believed non-consensual marital sex could be rape, he said defiantly, no. Clearly, there cannot be any rape within the marriage. Maybe aggression, maybe indecent activity, but no rape. Now this is the application today here in Britain. Can you now see why we're standing against Islamic courts?
Is this a man
There are
permitted to sleep with
85
his
of
wife
these
or
Islamic
not?
courts in Britain. This man is responsible for the majority of the Islamic courts.
We need
And
to
he
know
is
what the
saying
Bible
that
says.
there's no such thing as
We need to
marital
know the
rape.
authority of the Bible.
Why does he say that, Hatun? Because
We
his
need to know
traditions
what the
agree with
authority
him.
of the Bible means.
He's agreeing with the Quran,
Can you
Surah
tell us what the
2,
Bible
Ayah
says?
230. He's agreeing with the Islamic traditions.
According to Surah 2 verse 223.
Why is defensive?
Sorry, Surah 2, Ayah 223.
I want to know
It's
what
very
the
clear
authority
that a
means.
man can go into his wife
Yeah.
and where he will.
Yes.
Can you tell us
Now
what the
let's move on.
authority means?
So we've got Islamic Sharia Council already agreeing.
Yes.
Folks,
Can you
this
tell
is
us
why
what the
you need to
authority-
be aware. Sharia law should not be brought to Britain with men like these responsible. But don't get angry with him. He's just reflecting what his tradition says.
Oh, really? That's
He's
very
just
sweet of you.
reflecting what the Quran says. If you're going to get angry, get angry at the Quran.
That's very sweet.
Get
of you.
angry at
We
Islam,
want to know
not
what
at the men behind it.
authority in the Bible.
Okay.
The man have
So,
authority over a woman.
since
Does
we
that mean
talked
have
about-
to sleep with her whatever he wants?
We talked about violence in the marriage. We talked
just
about
wanna know
rape in the
why-
marriage.
why
Let's
you
talk
have to
about
understand
what
it? Why
happens
don't I
when
address
there is a
the
rape.
topic?
So let's
Why
talk
don't I
about the
address the
testimony
Testimony
of
of those
the
who
rape.
have been raped.
Okay.
So these are the people, the women who have been raped. What happens to their testimony
Okay.
if they have been raped? Now, hold on. What does UK law say? If a woman has been raped,
Then she goes, police, I've been raped. I said, no.
What the Christianity say? What the Christianity say? We want to know what the
Would you agree?
Christianity
Does
say.
Christianity agree?
What the Bible say?
absolutely
Can
agree
you
to
tell
this.
us what the Bible say?
Here we go.
Be a
Now,
man.
we're going to
Be a
ask what
man.
the Quran says
Be a
about
man.
rape
We want
and
to know what
testimony.
the Christianity
They
say.
are both equal before
Oh,
God.
yeah. We want to
And
know.
a man is
We
to
wanna
love his
know.
wife. He must not rape her.
Come on.
As Jesus loves the church.
Stop lying.
Galatians chapter
We
3,
want to know what the
verse
authority
28.
means.
We
What the
just given
authority
you,
means.
but you're not
Can
even
you address the
listening.
authority?
Authority means he must love his wife as Christ loved the church.
That's the
Hudson,
authority.
does Christ have authority over the church?
Come on, man.
Does
We wanna
Christ
know
have
what the
authority over the church?
authority
Yes, he
is.
does.
Yes, he does.
Does a husband have authority
over
over the woman? Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Like Christ has over the church.
Yes, and Christ had authority over
Are you
church.
listening to us?
That
No.
He
Have you
loved
heard what we just said?
He loved
I've just given it to you right now.
Okay.
The definition of authority
What does that
is
mean?
found in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25.
According to the
Are you going to listen to me? keep quiet and listen. Does Christ have authority over the church?
Yes, Christ does have
Does a husband have authority over the wife?
Yes, husband has authority over wife.
Oxford Dictionary.
Now he's running on for dictionary.
We want to know an
We're
Oxford
telling you what
Dictionary.
the Bible says.
Yes, what's the meaning
Okay,
of that?
Hatun. So if Christ has authority over the church, how is he supposed to treat the church?
He died for the church.
He loves the church so much that he dies for the church. So therefore, how should a husband treat his wife?
Husbands should die for his wife.
Like a husband treats his wife like Christ treated the church.
We want to know the
And the
definition
way
of
that Christ
authority
treated the
in
church
Oxford
was to die for her.
Yes.
On
So
Oxford
the same way,
Dictionary.
a husband
should
must
die
be
for-
willing to die for his
On
wife.
Oxford Dictionary, what's the
I love
meaning?
that kind of authority. Do you
On
love that
Oxford
kind of authority?
Dictionary.
Yes.
Is that the kind of authority we want for Britain?
Yes, we do.
We must die for our wives.
Why you cannot divorce your wife?
Not read them like it is in Islam.
Why you cannot divorce your wife?
Thank God we don't follow the Quran. Okay, Surah 2, Ayah 282. So this comes right out of the Quran.
Read the Bible.
What is the witness? The testimony of one man and one woman.
Read the Bible.
Shall I read it?
Go ahead, read it.
And get two witnesses out of your own man. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose
So
for
hold on.
witness.
One man or two women. So one man's testimony is equal to two women's testimony according to the Quran.
According to the Quran.
So the Quran says that two women, here got something here, two women versus one man.
Yes.
And why two women?
It is because if one of the women forgets, man is going to remind, the
So
other
if
woman
the
is going
woman
to remind.
forgets, the other woman can remind her.
Yeah. So, woman is
What if the man forgets?
Oh, well, according to Quran.
Men never forget.
Yeah.
So already in the Quran you see that the Quran gives two women for one man. In court, a man is worth two women's testimony.
According to England, it doesn't matter. You are man or woman. Your testimony is equal as soon as you are witness to the event. But according to Quran, yes, you need two women for one man.
So now let me
Nobody's listening to you.
here in the UK
What you are
court.
whispering between
Shut up. Talk about the
What
Bible.
is the testimony of a
Talk
man?
about the Bible.
They are equal. So according to British law,
have no
a
right
man's
to talk about the law.
testimony is equal to a woman's testimony.
No say in the
But according to Quran, there is not such a thing
Not
like
the
that.
same.
No, not
So
the same.
is this equal to British law? Now you say, he says very clearly that British law would not stipulate, would not allow one man versus two women. So you can see there's a problem there as well.
There is a big problem.
Thank God we have British law here.
And especially if reason is because woman will forget that other woman can remind her. That's
Now,
disgusting.
let me ask you, let's break this down a bit. In Britain today, how many women go to university versus how many men go to university?
Number of women who go to university is more than the men.
It's much more than men. So that means that women probably are more intelligent.
Thanks God.
Thank goodness, and I have to agree as
I'll
a
take that as a
man.
compliment.
That women are much more intelligent. But according to the Quran and according to the traditions, the reason why you must have two women is because of the lack of intelligence.
Yes.
Now, where do we read that?
We read that in Surah 200.
Mr. J. Smith, Jesus forget rapist or not?
It's in Sahih Bukhari,
Yeah.
Sahih Bukhari, Volume 1, Hadith number 301.
Yeah.
Shall I read it?
Yes, please.
Allah's apostle said,
Why don't you talk
it is not the evidence of two women equal to the witness of one man. There you go. See? One man is equal to two women in the court of law. This is what Shariah law. Come to Britain. Now, here is the reason.
Yes.
According to Muhammad, this is the deficiency of her intelligence. She is deficient in intelligence. Do you agree with that, Hatun?
I strongly disagree with that.
Folks, do you believe that women are less intelligent than men?
No, we don't believe that.
But according to Muhammad, they are. According to Muhammad, they are less intelligent. And that is why you need 2 women for every man in court.
What about Bible?
The testimony of 1 man is equal to 2.
And so according to Sahih Bukhari, volume 1, 301 tells us reason for that is because it is
Keep going, don't worry about it.
You need a
reason
husband.
for that is because women are deficient
In intelligence. So that's what Al-Bukhari said.
Yes, Al-Bukhari.
Al-Bukhari cannot be doubted, right?
Yes, volume 1, 301.
Hadith number 301.
Yes.
Volume 1, Hadith number 301. Go and deal with it, Muslim. This is not our authority. These are your authorities that we're quoting.
Okay.
That's why it's so easy.
We
So,
married 4
we
women.
looked at the Quran,
4 men.
and then we looked at the Hadith. Let's look at the schools, School of Islam. Let's look at the Maliki.
Let's
Okay?
look at the Maliki manual.
Yes.
So this is the official document for the Maliki School of Law.
Yes.
So this is Shariah law itself.
Okay.
What does the Maliki manual say
Okay.
about the testimony?
The weight of the...
The weight of evidence, go ahead.
I'm not talking about Jesus.
Jesus said, Luke 19:27, but those enemies of mine will be king of
I'm not talking about...
I'm talking about
I'm
killing.
not talking about jihad. I'm talking about Muhammad and
He wants to
Shariah.
talk about killing. We'll get to that.
It is because they don't have an answer for us. Let me read the verse
Okay, go
for
ahead.
you.
Now, what does Maliki manual, what does it say about the testimony?
Okay, Maliki manual tells us the weight of evidence given by 100 women is equal to that given by 2 women only, which is 10 equals that of a single man.
Okay, let me repeat that. So the weight of evidence given by 100 women is equal to that given by 2 women only, which in turn equals that of a single man.
Yeah,
So, Hatun, as a woman, how does that make you feel?
that's disappointing and disgraceful.
It makes you feel disgraceful,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why we're bringing this to Speaker's Corner today. We're just reading their manual. We're reading their own text. We're reading their own hadith, which are the sayings of the Prophet. We're reading the Quran itself.
Yeah.
Surah 2, Ayah 282. Now we've gone to Al-Bukhari. Now we've gone to Maliki manual.
Okay, let's go to the Hanafi manual.
Let's go to the Hanafi manual. So
Okay.
here's another school of law. What does the Hanafi manual say about the witness of a woman?
Hanafi manual is very disgraceful. It says the evidence of infidels regarding Muslims are not admitted.
Oh, I didn't know it before. So the evidence of an infidel is not acceptable over that of a Muslim.
No.
So the evidence of an infidel is not admitted in law.
Yes.
That means everybody who is not a believer would be thrown out of Muslim courts.
Yes.
Sharia law will have nothing to do with anybody that's not a Muslim.
Yes, that's correct.
According to the Hanafi manual. This is Islamic law, is it not? It's the Hanafi manual that says this. So almost all the population, 98% of the population of Britain would have nothing in court. All their evidence would be thrown out,
Yes.
according to the Hanafi manual.
Yes, that's correct.
That's pretty dire.
Yeah.
Folks, do you want this to come to Britain? Oh, thank God we're getting it. And thank God we're showing you what Sharia law will look like if it comes to Britain. We're not making this up. We're reading exactly what the Hanafi manual says, what the Maliki manual says. We're looking exactly at what the traditions say. We're reading Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari. We're going to the Quran itself. We've gone to Surah 2, Ayah 2 to 3. We've gone to Surah 2, Ayah 282. Can you see everything we're showing you comes right out of their own authority? Now, we could be lying. That's why we're recording this.
Okay.
So you can read it. You can go up on Vanderbilt and look at it for yourself. Read if this is there. And if it is there, then be careful. Make sure that Shariah law never comes to Britain.
No problem. What's the law of rape in the Bible?
I would say that most of you
What's the law of rape in the Bible? Tell us.
because you don't like Shariah law. You have come here to get away from Shariah law. You know you can see
on the
why
secular
they don't want
parliament
to
for
live in their
laws.
own country.
That's
Why they want to live here. Because of the laws we have here
Don't worry.
are equal between men and women, are they not?
The laws are in England values human beings.
They value every human being.
Yes, man and woman.
There is no distinction between man and woman. There is no distinction between believer and non-believer. Like what we've just read here.
Yeah.
This says that any infidel, that means anybody who doesn't believe, would not be admitted in court.
Yeah. So your
That's
testament is just
horrendous.
nothing.
Thank God we don't have that in Britain.
Why are you talking to
And
each
thank
other?
God we don't bring that to Britain.
Yeah.
We're talking to everybody.
Speaker corner.
And look at the people that are acknowledging what we say.
This week.
Now let's go to forced marriage.
Okay.
Forced marriage.
Forced marriage. Oh my
But you
God.
don't marry them.
You better be careful. Now you're going to get hot.
Yes, yes,
Now
I
you're going to
am.
get angry.
Because you don't have any laws
Because
of
we don't have
Christianity.
this.
You should thank Sharia and give you
In
laws.
British law.
It would give you laws for rape. It would give you laws for murder.
Is that a forced
Forced
marriage?
marriage is a girl. Is a man. Is a father allowed to force his daughter into marriage?
What's the law of marriage?
It's against the law.
So, in England,
British law,
it's against
no
law.
man, no father can force his daughter to marry someone else.
Okay. So, in England, it's against law. Let's look at Maliki and Hanafi.
I can dance to that.
You would dance.
According to
Let's get back to this. Now,
Not a
enforced
Christian
marriage. Okay, let's get back to forced marriage.
Forced marriage.
What does it say in the Maliki manual? Let's go back to Islamic law.
Yeah.
What does the Maliki manual say about forced marriage?
A father has the permission in law to give away in marriage his virgin daughter without her permission. Even she has reached puberty. But
Can you see they're embarrassed about their own law? They don't want you to hear what we're reading. You can all read it online. This will all be up there for you to read. But what does it say? The Maliki manual, say it again. Let me read it.
a father has the permission in law to give away in marriage his virgin daughter without her permission.
I can't hear.
Here we go.
Even I
So a
cannot
father
hear, but
has the
nobody able to hear
permission
that.
in law, in Islamic law, to give away in marriage his virgin daughter without her permission, even if she has reached puberty.
Yes.
Even if she has reached puberty, he can give her away. Now that's according to the Maliki manual. Sir, you've heard that.
What's the
How do
age
you
of
feel
consent
about
in
that?
mathematics?
Islamic law.
You should be
You would
stoned to
say
death.
Yes.
no, no.
Yeah.
Court, British court would allow that.
It is banned in England. It is banned in England, but in Islam, yes, it can be practiced.
It's banned in Britain,
Yeah.
it's banned in the UK, it's banned all over Europe, it's banned in the rest of the world, except for Muslim countries. Only in Muslim countries where they yell that, La ilaha illallah, can you do it? That's why he's yelling, La ilaha illallah. He agrees with him. And you can see how happy he is about it. Because he's a male.
That is shameful.
It is
That is shameful, sir. Shame on you. Shame on you.
They're reveling in these laws. Now, thank God we don't have that.
Sir, today I am asking the question. I am asking the question
Why you want a
why
husband?
Islam
He's married.
is forcing people to have marriage. That's why I am asking that question today. So I would love you to help me to understand the question.
Tell me, age of marriage in Vatican. What is the age of marriage in Vatican?
Age of the marriage in Islam.
Yes. What is the age?
Age of marriage in Islam.
We don't follow the Vatican. Go ask the Catholic. Thank God I follow Jesus Christ. And what did Jesus say? We are to follow the laws of the land, are we not?
Yes.
That's also there in Romans chapter 13. We are to follow. And what is the age of marriage here in Britain?
In England, 16.
16 years of age.
Or 18, pardon.
We're going to get to that. Let's hold on to that. Now, family inheritance and property contract. Number 6.
Okay.
We're now on number 6. What is contracts of law for a woman?
Okay.
The contracts of law for a woman in British law. It is equal, except for a will, right?
In Vatican, where your priest
Okay, so our lawyer over here says
Okay.
it's equal.
In England, it's equal. In Islam, Allah, according to Surah 4, verse 11. Surah 4, verse 11. Allah directs you as regards your children to the male a portion equal of that of 2 females.
So for one male, when the father dies, the male gets the same as 2 females, which means that each female gets half of what the male gets.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that equal? No, it's
No,
not.
that's not equal.
That is unequal. Did you hear that? A male gets twice as much as a female when the father dies.
Solomon has.
Would British courts allow that as a barrister?
No,
Christianity allows.
No, the man becomes
Christianity allows that.
No. So that is not legal, except if it's on the will of the person that died.
Okay.
Here, it's automatic.
According to
The
Islam,
woman gets half of what a male gets,
Yeah.
which shows not only injustice, inequality, but so certainly we don't want that for Britain.
no, we don't want that.
Okay, let's go on that one. Al-Hadaya, the Hanafi manual. Now we're going to Islamic law. What does the Hanafi manual say in Islamic law?
Upon an apostate dying, his property acquired in apostasy becomes forfeited into state, and the rest goes to his hands.
So when they apostate, if anybody who was a Muslim leaves Islam and they die, all of their property goes to the state. They do not go to the children.
It goes to the Islamic State.
What about
Islamic
in UK?
State.
What about in UK?
UK. In the UK,
Yeah, how?
if a apostate dies,
The government take the
does the government take it over?
There is
No.
will.
There is no such thing as apostasy in Britain. We don't have apostasy here. Only in Islam do they have apostate laws.
Only in Islam.
Only in Islam do they say if someone leaves the religion, everything goes to the state.
Yes, it's only
In
in
Britain,
Islam.
it goes to the children, does it not?
No.
Yes, it goes to the children.
If it is will, if there is no will, the government would take
Is there
it.
any law?
No.
Barrister.
Yeah, what is the
Listen to him.
law?
Listen.
What is the law?
Barrister.
What is the law? Tell me.
No. If they're in apostasy,
If there is no will,
there is no law.
take the property.
We got you on that one.
You are a liar. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If there is no will, where the property will go?
This has nothing to do with a will.
No. You are here for Christianity, yeah? Tell us what the
He's not even
Christianity
listening,
say
is
about
he?
it.
He has no
You are
idea
a
what he's
liar.
talking about.
You don't know.
According to Hanafi land, by virtue of being an apostate, his children don't get it. By being an apostate, he loses all right to his property.
Application of that, as soon as apostate dies, his family and his children will be homeless because they get nothing.
They would be homeless,
Yeah.
according to Hanafi manual.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
This also applies in the Maliki manual.
Yeah.
Nor can there be mutual right of inheritance between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. So therefore, the Muslim gets everything, the non-Muslim gets nothing.
Yeah.
Let's continue on. The Hanafi manual says, a contract of partnership is annulled by the death of apostasy of either partner. If one or two partners dies or apostatizes, the contract of the partnership is annulled. So by virtue of apostatizing, their partnership is annulled.
Yeah, you just lost
Do we have that in
everything.
British law?
What about
Doesn't even exist here.
Do you have in Christianity?
So here we go.
Do you have in Christianity.
No, we don't have anything in Christianity that says that you annul the marriage.
You are not
no,
here
we
to discuss
don't.
politics.
You can leave Christianity at any time, can't you? There is no law of apostasy in Christianity.
There is no law of
We don't
apostasy.
even hear of a law of apostasy.
No.
It doesn't even exist.
But we do
It
know that
only
from Islam.
exists in Islamic law.
Yeah, only in
Shariah
Islam.
law. The very thing that Sadiq Khan wants to bring to Britain. Let's continue on. Under fiqh law of Shaitani. Now this is Shiites.
Okay.
This isn't Shiite. Divorce. What happens in divorce for Shiites?
Thank you. What
For
is the
Shiites,
Christianity?
divorce. If a woman becomes an apostate after marriage, her marriage becomes veiled. So their marriage is just gone.
Her marriage becomes void.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's an apostate, as soon as one of the big two leaves Islam, the marriage is automatically annulled.
Yeah.
Even if they love each other, it is annulled.
Yeah, it
Even if they
doesn't
want
matter.
to keep together, it is annulled.
No, according
Do we allow that in British law? Do we allow that in British law? You
Can you
understand?
divorce your woman in Christianity? Can you
No.
divorce? Why?
No, hold on a minute. You can divorce. Of course you can divorce.
Right you are preaching
But
here.
do we leave?
You
Do we
cannot
know their
even
marriage?
divorce a woman.
They can still remain married if they want to.
You cannot even
They can
divorce.
still remain married if they want
You don't have
to.
children from
They
your
have all
wife.
the right to remain married.
Yeah, today-
Do you have friends who are married to a non-Christian?
Yes, I
Yes,
do.
I do.
I do.
I have
I do.
friends that are married to non-Christians.
Yes.
Are they
And
still
that's-
married today?
Yeah, and they're quite happy.
If they want to divorce, they can. And that's the only way they can be divorced, is if they decide they don't want to live with a non-Christian. Can they get remarried again? No. They cannot get remarried again. See, we have a much higher view of marriage than you do.
Okay, if you
Our marriage is for life, is it not?
It is for life. Until
There you
you
go.
die. It's very, very
Here
serious.
we go. Now, there are two types of apostasy. One is called fitri apostasy, and the other is called milli apostasy.
Okay.
Fitri apostasy is if someone who was born a Muslim then leaves Islam.
Yeah.
Milli apostasy is someone who converts to Islam and then decides to leave later on.
Yes.
What happens to both of them?
Okay, for fitri one, if a man becomes a fitri apostate, after nikah, his wife becomes haram for him.
So it becomes haram for them. Here we go again. They lose everything by becoming an apostate.
Yes.
Everything is taken away from them by becoming apostate.
Even their wife. Even
But
their
we don't
wife.
have that in Britain, do we?
No, we don't.
Even the Muslims are yelling, Allah is greater, but they say it. Because for them, this is what Allah says.
You should be sitting in parliament.
Can you now see how much they love the law? They're yelling and they're screaming his name.
Shame on you, sir.
This is the law that is good. And this is what they will bring to Britain when they come, won't they?
Yes.
Now, as an apostate, if I decide to become a Muslim and I leave Islam, what happens to all my material? What happens to everything I own?
Before that, your marriage is already gone. You are not married now. Your marriage is gone. You are not married now. Your marriage is void.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because it's your material. We're quoting your material. Because this is your law. We're quoting your law. We're quoting his traditions, are we not? He doesn't like it. He's angry already. Look at how angry he is.
No, we want to talk about Islam.
Thank you that we
and
can.
we want to talk about because it's dangerous.
Now we've gone through Shariah. So Shiite is the same as Sunni, is it not? We're just reading it. We're just reading it. Have we interpreted it or have we read it? We're just reading it black and white. Now let's move on. What else does it say?
So, again in Shia Hadith, okay?
That's what you are talking
Just
about
read this
here.
last part here.
Okay.
So according to Shiism, according to Shia Hadith, Furu al-Kafi, volume 7, page 257.
Okay.
What happens to a woman? Go ahead.
His wife is to be separated from him the day he becomes murtad.
Okay, that's all you need to read. So his wife gets separated from him the day he becomes an apostate. As soon as he becomes an apostate, he no longer can remain in that marriage. So that's already taken care of for you. But we don't have this kind of law in Britain, do we? We don't have this law in Christianity. A man can continue being married even to a non-man.
As soon as they love one another, they honor one another, it's fine. So,
As long as they honor and love. Now, what does Maliki say?
Okay, so we looked at the Shia. Let's look at the Sunni sources.
Now we come back to Sunnism.
Okay.
What does it say in Maliki, which is a Sunni school of law?
If either of the couple apostates, the marriage shall be dissolved by a divorce. If a non-Muslim couple embrace Islam, their marriage shall continue to submit. But if only one of them accepts Islam, such a marriage is to be dissolved without divorce.
So only even if one of them leaves,
Islam?
then it's supposed to be dissolved without a divorce. It automatically gets dissolved as soon as one person leaves, one person apostatizes. So that's even more serious.
Excuse me,
Let's move on.
the public.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Public is here.
Let's say what Hanafi
Don't
sources
worry,
are
we have
saying.
hundreds of people going to watch it. Thousands of people are going to hear. Can you all hear us? Can you hear us?
Why you are comparing Islam with UK Parliament? It's compare Islam with Christianity.
We're
Tell
doing
us the
both.
laws of
We're
Christianity.
doing both. But it's because of the fact we live in Britain. Because we live in Britain under British law. We want to see if we want Islamic law brought to Britain. Do you want Islamic law brought to Britain? All the Muslims do. Have you noticed? Do any of the rest of you want Sharia law brought here? Not after what you're reading today. And we're just reading their text, are we not? We're just reading your text.
We are letting text itself to speak for us.
The text speaks for itself. Now, what does Hanafi manual say? Just read the major.
Okay. According to Hanafi, okay? But if not, she has no claim whatever either to Duma or alimony, because the separation is in the case of consequences of
Okay,
her own
I think we can go on. It looks like every one of the Hanafi manual, the Hadaya, the Maliki manual, they're all saying the same thing.
Yes.
As soon as one leaves Islam, they annul the marriage.
Yeah.
The marriage is annulled by virtue of the fact that one has left Islam, has become an apostate.
Yeah.
And all their finances either goes to the state or goes to the children.
You lost the argument.
You lost
Today,
it.
totally.
You would like us to go home. But we're reading your text. You should be happy that we're reading your text. The same thing with Hanafi. This is the same again. His maintenance drops. That's all we need to read.
Okay, let's look at the divorce.
No.
Shall we look at the
When a wife
divorce?
converts to Islam, according to Hanafi, upon the conversion of one of the parties, the magistrate here in Britain is to require the other to embrace the faith and must separate them in case of recusancy. That means refusal to attend the mosque. When the wife becomes a convert to the faith and her husband is an infidel, the magistrate is to call upon the husband to embrace the faith also. If he accedes, that means if he accepts, the woman continues as his wife.
Okay.
But if he refuses, the magistrate must separate them. And this separation with Hanifa and Muhammad is a divorce. So that's according to the magistrates here in British law. That is here in Britain. That is the ruling here now and under law. Now, is that UK law?
No.
So that goes against UK law, does it not?
It doesn't matter in England if you convert to other religions or not. As soon as you love the man you are married, you stay in that marriage, you honor that marriage. But in Islam, you have to separate. In Islam, you have to separate. That's ugly.
Okay, let's go to divorce now.
Okay.
Let's go much quicker now. We need to hurry it up. Okay, now in divorce, according to Surah 65, Ayah 2. Go ahead. What does it say about divorce?
Those, when they fulfill their term appointed, either take them back on equitable terms or part with them on equality terms, and take for witness two persons among you endued with justice and establish evidence before Allah.
Now I want you to go to Surah 2, Ayah 230. Because in Surah 2, Ayah 230, it says very clearly, according to Islamic law and according to the Quran, look what happens when a man divorces his wife. But more than that, well, look what happens to a woman. Now, under British law, a man or a woman can divorce, can they not?
Yes.
It is equitable in British law, is it not? Both are equal under UK law.
Yes, that's correct.
There is no jurisdiction. I want you to read now, Surah 2, Ayah 230, what the Quran says when a man divorces his wife.
Okay, Surah 2, verse 213. And if he has divorced her for the third time, then she is not lawful to him thereafter until she has married another husband. Then if the other husband divorces her, it is no sin on both of them to divorce her.
Okay, here we go. So according to Surah 2, Ayah 230, when a man divorces his wife after the third time, if after the third time he divorces her, can the man take her back according to the Quran?
Yes, only woman has to go and get married with someone else and man has
So I would
to
say
divorce her.
no, he cannot, unless another man marries her, consummates the marriage with her, and then divorces her, and only then can the first man take her back. So I would say no, he cannot just take her back. Another man has to marry her.
Yeah, there is a condition. Woman has to marry with someone else, and that man has to divorce her.
Now in Pakistan today, they have men who are designated as talaq men who are actually at the mosque. When a man has said talaq 3 times, realizes he should not, he wants his wife back. These men go, take the woman, they marry them, sleep with them that night, divorce her the next day, so the first man can have her back. And that's all these men do. That is their responsibility.
What about one night stand?
Now let me ask you,
What about one night
is that
stand?
UK law?
Tell us.
No, there is no UK law there. But what does that say to you as a woman?
That's so ugly. It is my husband who chose to divorce me, and I am the one who needs to go and sleep around with someone else to go back to the husband.
What about your husband one night stand in UK? What about you say that?
That's ugly.
No, tell me.
That's ugly.
No, tell me that.
Let's just ask you to answer that question.
Yes.
In the UK, if a man has a one-night stand, is that illegal? No. There's no law against it.
Why not?
There is no law
That's
against
the
it.
point. Why not?
Because we live in a free country.
Forget about
Because we live in Britain.
We are living in a
Thank God we don't live in the United Arab Emirates or in Saudi Arabia or wherever there is Shariah law. Now, as a Christian, we have another law, do we not? And before God, marriage is for life, is it not?
Yes, it is.
As Christians, but that is only for Christians.
Yes.
We don't impose our law on anybody else, do we?
No. No.
UK law is not Christian law.
Yeah, Bible is for Christians, for people who wants to follow Jesus and the Bible.
So the marriage contract is for life, is it not?
Yes, I cannot force someone who doesn't worship Jesus to follow the structure of marriage from the Bible. I cannot force that.
And the marriage contract is much more serious in Christianity than it is for Islam, as we're going to see next. Let's go right on to.
Divorce? Hatun, answer this.
Okay, here's a case where a man loved his wife, but Umar comes to him and says, divorce her. And he says, no, I love her. So Umar goes to Muhammad. And what does Muhammad say to him?
Muhammad says, divorce her.
So Muhammad says, divorce her. And that's in ultimately Hadith number 4940. So here even the Prophet says for a man to divorce his wife, even though he still loves that woman.
For example, I love him, my husband loves me, but because person X doesn't like my marriage, my husband has to divorce me.
And here's another case. Now we're just reading it. We're not making this up, are we? Ultimately, Hadith number 4928 says very clearly what? What does it say about a mother objecting to her son's marriage?
It talks about importance of mother, and then it says, a mother is the best of the gates of paradise. If you wish, keep the gate. But if you want to close the gate, that's fine. So in this occasion, Hadith fully goes like this. When a man come to him and said, I have a wife whom my mother commands me to divorce. He said to him, I heard Messenger of Allah was telling me, a parent is the best gates to paradise. If she wants you to divorce her, divorce her.
But if you want to keep the gates of paradise open, you better divorce her. So obey your mother. If she doesn't like your wife, divorce her. So here you have the Prophet making a man divorce his wife. Here you're having a mother making a man divorce his wife.
Yeah.
So this is, we're just reading this.
Yeah.
Now, thank God we don't have that as law here.
All those things are according to Islamic sources.
It's not Sharia, it's just advice. There is no law such law like that.
Let's go on to the next one. Age of consent, number 9. Let's move right into age of consent.
Good.
What is the age of consent here in Britain?
16. I'm telling you 16.
16.
It's in England, it's 16.
What's the age of consent in Islam?
So,
No age of
it
consent
is-
in Islam. What is
it
the
is
age of consent in
9.
Europe?
Do you believe this?
No,
man?
yes, I definitely
No.
Do you believe this
What is
man?
the age of consent
Does
in
this
Europe?
man represent Islam?
No.
Should he be the one that we should listen to?
No.
Or should we read what the Islamic law says?
Yes.
12 years
Let's read what the Hanafi manual says.
12 years
Okay.
in
Let's see
Vatican
if
City.
this man even knows his own Sharia law.
I know that.
You know
I
it.
in the
Okay, what's the
Vatican-
age of
In
consent?
the Vatican is 12 years old. In Spain is 13-year-old. In Germany is 14-year-old. In Czech Republic is 15-year-old. In UK is 16-year-old.
So what is it in Islam?
What about in Islam?
Come on.
What about in
Hanafi
Islam?
manual.
Okay.
Are you
What is
ready?
the age of consent?
The commencement of
And
the
the Prime
age of
Minister is
puberty
ignoring it,
in
you
the
know?
case of males is 12 years completed, and in the case of females is 9 years.
Hold on a minute.
That's the Hanafi
No, 9
manual.
years.
Shall we move on?
no,
Let's see what else it says. It is to be observed that the earliest period of puberty with respect to a boy is 12 years, and with respect to a girl is 9 years. Al-Bukhari, volume 7, hadith number 88. We're not saying this, you're not saying this, this is Al-Bukhari
What
saying
is the
this.
age of consent in Christianity?
The Prophet wrote
What is
with
the age
Aisha
of consent
while she
according to
was
Bible?
6 years
Tell us.
old. 6 years old!
That's a just child.
Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 years old
Always you say that.
and consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old and he was 53. Muhammad was 53 years old. Aisha was 9 years old.
That is
Now can you understand why all the Hanafi manual and the Maliki manual say it's 9 years old for a woman?
because say so.
Because it was the age of Aisha.
Yeah,
Now,
sorry,
how
because
many
Muhammad
people believe
practiced so.
that 9-year-old girls should be married to 53-year-old men?
That is
See,
ugly.
no hands are going up. And
That
suddenly
is
he
ugly.
My hand is never on my phone. My hand is
because he thought so clearly.
because you are
He thought so clearly he knew Islamic
There are
law.
other sources where the age is
See,
higher.
we said-
But
How
don't
old
you
is he?
9 years old.
You've
Come
got
on,
to
man.
read the
We
law.
know all your cleverness.
You've got to
here,
read the law.
man.
And it's very clear that in Islam, men as old as 80 can marry 9-year-old girls. Everybody, any man can marry 9-year-old girls, according to Islamic law.
That is ugly. That is ugly. That's not acceptable.
Let me ask you, how many
can marry 13-year-old.
9-year-olds are ready for marriage?
None.
And why do you think we have 16 as the age that women can be married here?
Oh, yeah, tell us.
Even 16 is questionable.
It's questionable.
16 is
You would say
questionable.
that's too early
Yeah.
because of their body
Yeah.
and because of their mental state.
Yeah.
Okay.
But according to Islamic
But what is
law,
the age of
according to
consent? Tell
Sharia
us.
law,
Yeah.
we now have read 3 different references
Yeah.
that show that the woman's age needs only to be 9. She's still a little girl then, is she
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. They
And a
want
man's
to
age can be 12.
Not
Yeah.
even yourself convinced on 16-year-old.
Surah, these are your own manuals. Islamic law
He's quoting,
says 9
misquoting
years
it.
of age.
He's misquoting it.
And what age was
Aisha was
Aisha?
9. Aisha was 9.
Aisha was 9 years of age. Aisha was 9 and Muhammad was 53.
Come on.
So
No,
their
Aisha
own
was 9.
prophet
Aisha
is
was
the
just a
example of their own
child.
prophet that we're using today.
Yeah. Aisha was just a child and she was playing with the toys.
Give us some example of Jesus.
Okay, now how many can a man have?
Well, that's a bit controversial.
Surah 4, Ayah 3.
According to Quran, man can have up to 4 wives.
Yes.
Up to 4 wives. But not more than 4 wives at one time.
Yeah. But Muhammad failed to meet up with that. Muhammad had more than 4 wives.
How many wives did Muhammad have?
11, 12. God
He had
knows.
12
11, I
wives.
think.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even follow the Quran.
No.
but the law
So
was-
one law for Muhammad and another law for all you
That's
guys.
right.
Yeah.
Did you see?
That
Even
is
your prophet
ugly.
doesn't even follow his own revelation.
That is so ugly.
Is there any prophet in the Bible that does not follow his revelation?
No.
Do any prophets in the Bible say one thing for themselves and one thing for everybody else?
Solomon. Solomon. Tell
In
us how
fact,
many wives
is
he got.
Solomon a prophet?
750 wives he got.
Solomon.
Tell us.
Was
Yes.
Solomon a prophet of God?
Yes, he was a prophet of God.
Be
Yes.
careful.
Oh, yes, he was a prophet.
Was
What
he
about
not an
David?
evil prophet?
What about David?
Did not God
Yes,
condemn condemn Solomon?
He did.
Did not God condemn Solomon?
He did.
And what did God say in Genesis chapter 2, verse 29?
I made one man for one woman.
Chapter 2, verse 29. One man for life, one man, one woman for life.
Yeah.
He designated from the very beginning
Yeah.
that there should be one man and one woman. From the
Solomon-
very beginning, God designated that.
Solomon has to be unfaithful to the God.
There are a lot of single
Solomon
women in this
failed to meet
country.
up with God's
Because
standards.
of you.
But there is no verse in the Bible tells us you can have up to 4 marriage, and then there is no verse in the Bible tells us Jesus practiced and he encourages us to practice.
Well, I
But
would say
when-
yes.
you
Paul
don't
says
marry.
it in 1 Timothy. Paul says to Timothy that it's only for a leader of the church can only have one wife.
Yeah, but I'm
Very
not
clear that even under Paul's teaching,
I'm talking about 4 wives, Jay.
Yes.
there's no verse at all.
Yeah,
This
there
is
is
for
no
wives.
Yeah, there is no
In
verse
fact,
in
they
the
all
Bible.
say one man, one wife,
woman. Yeah.
and for life.
Yeah.
That's why the
But
women
not
are
even
single
the
in this
prophet
country.
could follow his own
That's why she is
revelation.
single till today.
Thank God we don't follow
Yes.
Muhammad.
She
According
married to God. Okay. That's why the women are single in
So
this
here we go.
country,
You have the
because there's
Maliki
not enough
manual
men
saying to marry concurrently a maximum of 4 freeborn men. So
Yeah.
there you have the Maliki manual.
Yeah.
Agree with the Quran.
Yeah.
Here you have Al
Sir, don't
Risala.
touch me, please. Thank
Marry
you.
concurrently a maximum of 4 freeborn Muslim women. Al Risala also agrees.
Yeah.
Here you have Al Hadaya, which is the Hanafi manual.
Yeah.
A free man to marry 4 wives. Not lawful to him to marry more than 4.
Yeah.
And beyond that, what is there specified would be unlawful. So you have the Hanafi Mullah, you have the Maliki manual. They all agree with the Quran.
Yeah, they
That
are
a man
giving
can
you
marry up to 4
sensible laws.
wives.
Okay. In that case, I have to ask the
Sensible laws how to
question.
live in a
I
society.
have to ask the question. If Allah is giving right to the man to have 4 wives,
Yeah.
also Allah is giving right to the woman that woman can have 4 husbands.
No.
So if it was equality, there
is
should
not
be
equality.
polyandry.
Not allowed to give.
That
Why
is
is there
not
not polyandry?
equality.
Interested in the
And what does Sharia law say about polyandry?
Christianity says
So
you can marry,
polyandry
a man can marry
says
a
that a
man.
woman can have more than one husband, right?
Yes.
Let's see what the Sharia law says. The illegality of polyandry is universally admitted amongst Muslims. In the case of polyandry, a separation becomes necessary. So it's very clear that in Islamic law, Al-Hadaya, the Hanafi manual says very clearly in volume 1, Al-Hadaya 3329, that there is no such thing as polyandry.
Yeah.
You cannot
So-
have the same.
Okay, Jay,
Man
do you
has
accept
right
Jay
to have
Bishop?
4
Do you
wives,
accept Jay
but
Bishop?
woman doesn't
No.
have any
So
rights.
why Christians
That's
have
shame.
Jay Bishop then?
Here we go. So here we
Tell us
go.
why Christians have Jay
Do you,
Bishop.
what we have done, we've gone through 10 items today, have we
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
We wanted to look at what Sadiq Khan was saying. Sadiq Khan was very clear that Islamic law, Sharia law, as he says, is in controversial areas of Islamic law, which could easily be applied to the legal system.
Yes.
Have we found one area of Islamic law that can be applied to the legal system?
We looked at the 10 articles. They are all disgraceful.
So
They are all
every one of the 10 areas we looked at.
Yeah.
We looked at marriage.
Yeah.
We looked at divorce.
We looked at
the
the
number of
violence.
wives. We looked at the way they beat the wives.
Yes.
We looked at the way that the divorce and how many people in the testimony.
Yeah. We looked at the inheritance.
We looked at inheritance law.
Yeah.
All of these have to do with marriage and divorce.
Yes, all
And also
family.
family law.
Yes.
That's what Sharia courts are doing today, are they not?
Yes.
So we looked at the 10 areas that Islamic courts are using today.
Yes.
And in every case, we found that they do not equal British law.
No.
In every case, they go against British law.
In every case, they go against British law.
So what is Sadiq Khan saying?
She don't care.
What does Sadiq Khan say?
Sadiq Khan is saying we can have some part of the Islamic law and adopt that to the England. But that is very disgraceful. That is wrong. That is wrong.
So there's not one area of law that we've looked at. And we've looked at all 10 areas.
Yeah.
Not one of them not only is it legitimate, but it is not just according to British law.
Yes.
Which means Sharia law cannot work in Britain, can it?
Sharia law cannot work in
Can you then see why Theresa May said what she said last week?
She was concerned about it.
She is concerned. Are you concerned, Hatun?
I am concerned.
Why are you concerned?
As a woman, I am concerned if I live under the Sharia, my dear Muslim friends are gonna be in a terrible position.
A Muslim under Sharia. This
They are gonna be in terrible position. I concern for my dear Muslim friends. I concern for their lifestyle. I I concern the value Allah gives to them. But also I concern for me as a Christian woman. My life
because in almost every case, you are half as good as a man. When it comes to divorce, you are half as good as a man. When it comes to testimony, you are half as good as a man. When it comes to will of testament in death, you are half as good as a man. And according to marriage, you're 1/4 as good as a man. 4 women to every 1 man. That means every woman is 1/4 of a man's worth. In every case, according to Islamic law, you are less than a man. A man can go into you anytime he wants. If he is your husband, according to Surah 2, Ayah 2-23.
I am not valid in our side of Islam. I am not valid.
Aren't you glad you're not a Muslim?
I am so grateful I am not a Muslim. I am so grateful I am Christian. I am so grateful the privilege Jesus gave it to me.
Now let me ask you, Hatun. British law is based on justice, is it not?
It is.
British law is based on equality, is it not?
It is.
British law is now stipulating that it's 1 man and 1 wife.
Why you are in the party?
Both are equal in divorce. Both are equal in marriage. Both are equal in death. In every case, British law has come back to equality. Where did they get that equality?
They come back to the Bible.
It looks like they're coming back to the Bible. They did go to the Quran, we know that. Because of Surah 2, Ayah 282. Because of Surah 4, Ayah 3. Because of Surah 4, Ayah 11. Because of Surah 4, Ayah 34. Because of Surah 2, Ayah 230. Look at those verses, one after another. Each one of them says that a woman is unequal to a man. But the Bible in Galatians 3, verse 28, says that a woman is equal to a man. A slave is equal to a master. A Jew is equal to a Gentile. All are equal under Jesus Christ. That equality can only come from one source.
From Jesus.
And what is his name?
Jesus.
What is his name?
Jesus.
Jesus! That's the name we're talking about today. In everything it comes back to Jesus. Have you noticed?
In everything.
Now, this is not a Christian country, is it?
No, it's not a Christian
But it's based on Judeo-Christian principles.
Yes, that's correct.
It's based on biblical principles.
Yes, that's correct. It's
the equality that we see there is found only in the gospel of Jesus Christ. The idea that a man cannot impose upon his wife in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. The fact that a man must love his wife like Christ loved the church. That would be willing to even die for his wife is Ephesians 5:25. And these are the things that we appreciate in Britain today. But they can only be up there because of Jesus Christ. It all comes back to Jesus, doesn't it?
It's all come back to Jesus.
So people, you need to decide.
No people is here listening to you.
Do you want Islamic law?
He lost
or do you want British law?
He lost the argument today.
Which is the law that you want to follow?
You lost the argument.
Thank God for British law. Based on the biblical text. Based on the example of Jesus himself. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you all later.
Are you answering questions?
Remember, it is only one law, and that's the law of Jesus Christ. And it's not a law that's black and white, rules and regulations. It is principles, is it not?
It is the principles.
The principles that work in Galatia, different than Corinth. In Ephesus, different than Philippi. In Rome, different than London. But they all work. Because we follow one person. And what's his name again?
Jesus.
What's his name again? Jesus.
What have you
today? You lost.
Jesus.
You lost today.
Jesus. Huwa al-Akbar.
You should go to the parliament.
Jesus.
And
Huwa
al-Akbar.
UK. Greater than Yah Allahu Akbar.
Yes.
We leave with his name on our lips. God bless you.
You lost today.
Remember Jesus.
And you accept
Remember his principles. Remember his gospel. And come on home to Jesus. God bless you.
You go to parliament and make some Christian law.